Hello, and here we are, and step 4, week 3, step 4 of enlightened enrollment. And what's only thing is left now is the actual enrollment conversation. So for this part, what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk you through what I call my ISOLVE enrollment conversation. I'm going to give you the generic and we'll talk through it, but then I'm actually going to walk you through a physical example of what one of my clients did. She's an attorney, but what one of my clients did for her. And so your job is to listen and learn and start figuring this out for yourself, right? And doing it for yourself. And I'm going to give you a copy of both of these documents. Again, you will find the link to the documents below this video, and you can go from there. And I hope you have a lot of fun with this. But this is so important. Well, clearly it's important, but this is so important. And I love this conversation because it does what it needs to do, but it does so in a very, very, I call it loving, engaging, caring, serving, being of value way. So I solve, because you do solve, right? You're solving someone's problem, right? And again, it kind of starts with like, hi, we're glad we're here, blah, blah, blah. In the example, you'll see a little bit more. I mean, and this is just a thing, and then you need to figure out what's going to work for you, right? So the first part of I solve is I, which is inspiration. And tell me about your dreams and blah, 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 you know, which prompted you, you know, whatever that. And again, the key to this is, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. So tell me about your dreams and vision for the future. Oh, for me, for my clients, I dream that I have a business where I am working 10 hours a week and I can do it from anywhere and blah, blah, blah. Then I would say, oh, that's great. Well, tell me more about what would that mean? You know, having that business, what would that mean to you? Tell me more about it. Tell me more about it. Just really, really, really get them to go deep. It usually takes about 4 to 5 times of tell me more. What about that? What will that mean for you? How would that impact your family and your life? And those kinds of questions, 4 or 5 times. So that's the first part. And then after they talk about that, it's like, so what prompted your desire to have a conversation today? And then you can say, and how do you see that our opportunity fitting in with that, depending on what the call's about, right? But they prompted you, they wanted to talk to you, and they know what you're doing. And so it's a good idea for them to say that, how do you see what, again, you will work on those, you know, you'd work on the words, how that, you know, what it fits in, so you can kind of get an idea. The reason why you do this, because it's remember the formula for change, right? You go with the vision, and you go with the dissatisfaction, right? So inspiration is the vision, right? So you want to know all about the vision and everything else. And the fact that you're mentioning your opportunity or your program or your process or whatever you're talking about, that's fine. Now, had they gone through your whole enrollment flow, then at this point you're going to have a better idea. But you could say, what prompted your interest in talking to me to begin with? Okay. All right. So we start with the vision. This is the formula for change, because if they work with you, whatever it is, they're going to change. They're going to be doing something different. They're going to have something different. So we start with the inspiration, the vision, blah, 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 blah. And then we go to the dissatisfaction of what's going on now. So what's holding them back? What's stopping them back? What's getting in the way? And also, what will get in the way? Call it out right in the beginning. What is going to get in the way of you moving forward or possibly going through this type of a program? What do you think is going to, right? I asked all of you all that question. So, I know where it came from. The third thing is you give them options. This is where you you give them real, beautiful, wonderful advice, suggestions, action steps, things they can do, things they can use immediately to make, oops, I have to change this. This was, I took this from whatever. About the opportunity and what it's going to provide the dream and everything else. And you're doing all the talking at this point, okay? Because you're like, you'll see in the next, you'll see an example. It'll be much more clear. After you go and you've given them really awesome advice and really, awesome help, next thing you do is you ask them, L, like, what did you like about what I just said? And again, it does say, ideally, you want them to say everything. Even when I'm talking about the options and I'm giving advice, I'll say, are you writing this down? Are you writing this down so you remember? I mean, it's just, you really engage them. Great. So when they, and then you want them to tell you, well, what, right, that's great. Well, what about everything did you like? And you want them to tell you. You're going to see in the next document, it's in when I show you the real example of what it looks like. That's awesome. So then you go back to the vision and how your offer or what you're providing them achieves the vision that they talked about. Again, so here they're selling themselves into your program. You're not doing anything. And oh, and you do not talk. All right? You do not talk. My favorite phrase is going to be in the next document. So you go back this and blah, 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 blah. So then you finish. Does that make sense with you? How does this resonate with you? Does it make sense for you? And when they say yes, you say, great. Should we get started? We talk about the paperwork. Should we talk about our next steps? Blah, blah, blah. And I work with you. That's it. It's super simple, and it can literally be done in, I don't know, like 30 minutes or less. You can actually use this even if they have not gone through getting on the well, they at some point they have to get on your calendar or something, right? You got at some point when you're talking to them. So it's just a couple of things. But even if it's somebody you've never met before or anything else, this works. This works. All right, I'm going to do a new share because I want to do, where is it? Okay, I'm going to do this new share because I'm going to go through one of my clients' actual thing that she did, and I had her, because that's what I had her do, completely write it out. I'm not saying you're going to completely write it out. The reason why I'm showing this is so that you can see a real example of what that translates for you. Now, she's an attorney and she helps businesses open up their businesses. So you need the background about that, right? So here she goes. And again, I'm not saying you don't actually say it word for word. You write it. The reason why you actually write it out is because it helps you work on it, refine it, and get to see, and you can see it. Have it nearby, but don't, unless you can do it very fluidly and very naturally so it doesn't look like you're reading something, because this is about a real conversation. All right, so it's about yelling at 15 minutes. Let's jump right in to see if I can get to know you and see how I can help you. We talk about, before we start talking about your current needs, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. All right, right. It's like, how did you come up with the, in this case, she said, how did you come up with the idea? What made you want to become an entrepreneur? That's just the intro, right? That's just the data gathering. Let's call that. So again, that's the I. So then we go to the vision. I call the lollipops and rainbows. Where are you now? What does it mean to you? Blah, 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 blah. And ask. Deeper, 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 deeper. And I do like using the 1 to 10, where are you now? Where would you see yourself? Where would you like to be in 6 months and in 12 months, right? Just kind of see where they're going and where their head is at. And again, it all depends on your program and your service and what you do. So we go from the vision, and then we go to the reality, which is the pile of crap, which we only have empathy for, of course, because you do. But you need to know what's holding them back, what's getting in the way, and everything else, and then ask how serious you are about doing something. And what is your time frame? Now, is one thing when you're talking about what you need to do. Never tell them what they need to do. You tell them, you say to them, okay, well, based on what we've just talked about, here are some things that you can do to move ahead. You can do blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to give you 3 things. I mean, she's not, you know, she wasn't saying what you need to do. It's like, I'm going to give you 3 things that you can do right now in your business that will get you going. And these are definitely, remember, she's an attorney and she's helping, and this is for her, right? So these are the types of things she helps with. Then she said, then now she tells about the 4 things to get the business that, I mean, this is, again, this is what she's doing. You see, this is all free advice that she's giving out, whether they talk to her, whether they don't talk to her. They're just giving it and just explaining what you can do and everything else. Never, 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 never actually say what you need to do is, or you should be doing this. As soon as you start saying words like that, or why aren't you doing this, or don't you want to have this, be very careful with how you say what you say, because when you start interjecting, and it could come from passion, it can come from your heart, but when you start saying phrases like that, if people are put on the defensive, and when they're put on the defensive, they completely shut down. So it's only about supporting them and asking questions that are going to support them. And it's very easy, right? Because you know you can help them. You're so excited. You're like, oh, come on, let's do this. I can't wait. But you gotta hold back and just do this from that standpoint, from a non-attached perspective. You need to be detached from the outcome, right? Because what are we doing here? We are building relationships. We're being of value and we're being of service. That's it. Detached from the outcome. And remember, no, you should, you need to, you have to. Well, don't you want to have blah, blah, blah. Fill in the blanks. Just give them the things that they can do to make their life better, if they so choose. Because 99% of them won't do anything with it. 99, so a good portion, when you're having this conversation, they're not even going to write it down. So there you go. So then she goes, so these are the 3, this is the other thing. So those are the 2 things, and give them all that information, which they could take that information themselves and they could clearly do it, right? They could write when she's writes this down, they could do it and they can walk away and do it, but they're not going to know, and particularly that kind of stuff. Anyhow, so she goes through it, and you can go through it a little bit quickly, because again, you don't want to be taking all that much time. So after you get through the really awesome advice and the really great things that they can do without pressure, without attachment, without anything, you're just giving, 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 serving, 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 being of value, being of value, being of value, which ultimately builds a really great relationship. Then you say, so what do you like about what I said? And they now sell themselves. They now enroll themselves in your program, right? And here, key word here, STUFU. STUFU. What that really means is shut the F up. I had a problem of wanting to interject, and I wanted to be heard, and I just wanted to, it's very easy for me to want to, because I still have to watch myself. But in this situation, I seriously, for years and years and years, I had a big thing across the top of my laptop that said STUFU. Just that I always remembered to STUFU when needed. Here, you talk, give, blah, blah, blah. End the conversation, ask them what they like, and STUFU. Let them talk, let them talk, let them talk. Do not interrupt them, whatever you do, until they stop talking. You don't interrupt them until they're done talking. You're like, great. So after that, and they're thinking, that's wonderful, blah, 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 blah. Then you go to the natural next step, which is back to the lollipops and rainbows. Lollipops, and you know how you're going to do that and everything, and things that you're going to do, and just kind of like how you're going to do that. Or would you like to know how we work together? Would you like to hear about my program? Would you like to know whatever? And at that point, they should say yes, right? So then you walk them through your program and how it works. So remember when we were doing the market research questions, we went through the questions and then I said, are you interested in seeing the program? And then I showed you the program. Hello. And what did you like about the questions? What did you think about that? Blah, blah, blah. You notice that stop in between. Are you seeing, can you remember back to our conversation a little bit, how this is what we did? This is exactly what we did, right? And it's all real. It's all heartfelt. It's all from the heart. It's all about just being of service and being of value. It just keeps it organized and in progression. All right, so this is what we do, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, when they say, how does that sound to you? They'll say, it's like ideal, say, yeah, great. Okay, let's get started. And you go through the pricing and how it's going to work. And can I have your credit card, so to speak, right? Now, one thing I want to say is, not one thing, I've been saying a lot of things, right? Is when it comes to objections. As I said before, when people start really objecting, I say fine, because I don't personally want to work with people where I feel like I have to talk them into it or convince them, right? Even though it's never my intention, I just never, ever, 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 ever want anyone to ever, ever, ever feel that way. Because if they do, it could definitely come back to bite you. So just saying that. However, a lot of times, because people are scared, it goes back to the resistance, right? At this point, you're telling all this great stuff and like, oh my gosh, it could become a reality. Oh my gosh, I could really do that. Resistance, resistance, right? So they're going to come up with typical things: no time, no money, I got to talk to my spouse, blah, blah, blah. And so then what you do is you just focus, help them remember what they want: too much money. And then you can just, you can just kind of give examples and everything else, blah, 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 blah. Clear up my spouse. I get, it's always like you respect them, you hear them, you replay back. I understand that you think that it's too much money. And then you can give examples or something like that. Again, you do this without attachment. Because again, you're just going to part friends and you're going to be of value, and you've got them to think. You've got them to think, and you've given them things that they can do. So it's all good. But generally, people, when you're at this point and you're having that conversation, you're going through, generally, if people have objections, is that they're only because they don't see the value. So everybody, remember, perception is in the individual's mind. So you know the value, you understand the value. It's very, are you kidding me? It's like thousands of dollars, and it's right. But if they don't see the value, then they're probably not going to move ahead, and they're going to come up with something. So the only reason why you go back and we talk about the objections is to help figure out where is it that they're not finding the value and how you can get them to see the value. And if you still get them to see the value and then it's still a no, well, then it's, fare thee well. I wish you success. It was been a pleasure talking with you. Yada, yada, yada. All right. And that's it. It takes a little time and everything else. We will be spending time with this at Profit Send Live to help you work through this and really go through it. But it's just something for you to think about. But I just love, 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 love. I mean, this is an actual example of my client, right? But I just love this. I just love this because it's so real, it's so honest, it's so giving, it's so caring, and it's so enrolling. It's an enrollment conversation. Do you see the difference? So that's step 4. Love to know what you think. Make sure you put comments in the group. Look for the week 3, and we'll go from there. Remember, all of the discovery and all the documents that go with each part are down below the video in the description, and you'll see the link there for that, the Dropbox links. Well, thank you very much. You ready? Anyway, I'm glad, hope you liked it. I hope you got a lot out of this, and I'll be talking to you in the group. Bye.